Earlier in the show, you heard from DFL Senate Majority Leader Esme Murphy. Earlier this morning, I spoke with Republican House Majority Leader Harry Niska. Joining us right now is House Majority Leader Harry Niska. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Leader Niska.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, I want to ask you, one of the big GOP concern at the legislature is an emphasis on fraud. It feels like you're trying to steer the conversation away from immigration back to fraud. You have a bill called Fraud Isn't Free, in which there would be penalties for people on whose watch the fraud occurred. In other words, people would be fired. Do you think more people should have been fired by now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a big part of the problem that we've seen and what we hear about from people, Minnesota taxpayers, is their outrage about not only the waste and fraud that's happened of their tax dollars, but the fact that no one's been held accountable, that there's been a culture of lack of accountability that would never fly in any other organization. People would have been fired in any company that had this kind of scandal. There's been a culture of lack of accountability, lack of oversight, and that's the point of this legislation, is to make sure that there is accountability, both for the agencies that are letting fraud happen and for the individuals that are asleep at the switch.
There is an effort to get a brand new Office of Inspector General that would kind of be over this independently and review things. I know this got through the democratically controlled Senate at the end of last session. It stalled seemingly in the House earlier this week in a very confusing manner. Is this going to happen?
Well, we sure hope it happens, and if it happens, it needs to be an actually empowered and independent inspector general. It needs to be someone that can't be controlled by the governor, can be chosen unilaterally by the governor, and someone who has not just the ability to investigate, but actually enforce the law in this area. The governor, the attorney general already have the power to do to initiate law enforcement actions, but the problem is that they have not done their job. And so we absolutely need an independent watchdog to have those tools, not only to be independent from the governor, but to be able to enforce the law. What happened in the House is that House Democrat author tried to gut both of those aspects from the version that passed the Senate. House Republicans support. We would like to make maybe some minor tweaks to the version of the Senate, but we think overall that framework is the framework that needs to go into effect. And we have a version from the House Democrats. Do you think some form of Office of Inspector General will be approved this year? I mean, it sounds like it's got bipartisan support for the most part. I sure hope so, but the devil is going to be in the details. It can't just be something where we're duplicating the Office of Legislative Auditor, which is already doing a great job. It needs to be something that actually has independence from the governor and law enforcement power.
I want to ask you about your priorities. That you listed your priorities for the session included fraud and also affordability issues. I didn't see anything on immigration reform or Operation Surge, some changes there. I want to ask you about this because we have some video of a Ramsey City Hall meeting that someone sent me, where a number of members of the public addressed the Ramsey City Council about their fears about ICE and ICE conduct in Ramsey, which is your district. Do you support any of the proposed changes that the DFL is proposing, requiring the BCA to investigate? They have to have identification, no masks, and that they need to render aid. Do you support any of these things?
Well, I don't support the state trying to go beyond what its power is to regulate aspects of the federal government. I have spoken with federal leaders, including our congressman. I've spoken actually directly with the chair of the Senate Homeland Security about my suggestions on how things should go. We did see a good change in the way that federal immigration enforcement was happening in Minnesota when Tom Homan took over the operation. I applaud the changes that he brought about. But we can do at the state level, though, we need to be careful about what we can do that would be productive or counterproductive. And the most productive thing we can do at the state level is to make sure that our state law and local law enforcement is able to cooperate with federal immigration officials, law enforcement on the types of things that we all would agree to prioritize. So handing over criminal illegal aliens, doing that in a safe way within the safety of a jail as opposed to out in the community. The reason we saw such a chaotic situation is because that cooperation wasn't happening. And so that has been...
I don't know. I actually
priority.
was at a couple of the scenes, and it was chaotic in part because of the way officers were acting. I've seen many police incidents, many, and the way the ICE officers were handling was not the way that you'd have the police, and I'm sure the county, Anoka County Sheriff would handle it. But anyway, I appreciate so much your coming on. Thank you so much. We obviously will be following your legislation as you introduce it and see where it goes. The Fraud Isn't Free bill is what it's called. Thank you so much.
Thank you.